Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and the name of this show is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, and it's coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, New York, and also from YouTube. And we are focusing for the next few months on the John and Janine Maurer flea market of Woodstock, New York. And so our guests are all coming. They have booths there. And we have a really, really interesting guest this evening. So can you start off and introduce yourself? Tell us your name and where we can find your products.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. My name is Edie. I have a booth in the Woodstock flea, the Mauer's Market, and I'm a painter, so I sell my artwork in the market. And things that I've made from the art or with the art, like books, decks, and I am to be found online at edieart.com.
Wow. How long have you been doing this?
I've been painting for, I would say, about 20 years that I've been doing it a lot and regularly, and then I've been selling and showing my work in markets and fairs for a good, 15 years or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you find Mauer's Market?
I've just known about them from being in Woodstock, and then a friend, Ustia, who also is in the market. I ran into her somewhere, and she told me she does it, and then I was interested through her. Got introduced through her.
And you've been coming how many years now?
This is the third year.
And have you always been in the same place? Where can people find you in the market?
So when you walk in the main entrance, then I'm always on the first sort of street on the right-hand side, like maybe give or take 6-7 booths in.
You know, these are very interesting products, and they're interesting because they're beautiful to look at. And I think they would make nice holiday gifts.
Yeah. I hope they do.
Usually we stay open after Thanksgiving, a few weekends after Thanksgiving, so that the customers, they like to come for their Christmas shopping and Hanukkah shopping. And this year we're closing in October. So I'm trying to tell everybody, if you're thinking about holiday, now is the time. The tree is up. It's here. It's time to go. So,
just gifting in general? Like,
yes.
I always tell people, it's also, and people come to me sometimes and they're like, oh, this would be great for so-and-so. And they're like, well, it's not their birthday or it's not the holidays yet, but I might take it and just keep it. And I love that idea that like buying a gift for someone when the spark ignites and when you see something
that's an important thing to do. Is when you see it, get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now where did you begin? Where was the seed of this career? How did this start?
Well, probably, the seed of it was probably in childhood with drawing and enjoying the act of drawing and coloring and all that, like most kids. Nothing, out of the ordinary, and I didn't really pursue that. I dabbled with drawing and whatnot in my teens, but then at some point in my late 20s, I started painting and experimenting with actual paint, with acrylics, and then from that, I developed my work, my style. I started painting my nieces, then little. So the subjects of the paintings are often kids. Were kids, more also women now, but yeah, they were always kids and women and animals and nature.
And I see a lot of purples. Is that intentional? Is that the colors that you're working with, or is that just what happens to come in the door today?
It's just what happens. And I guess a lot of purple is here. Yeah, I use a lot of blues and purples. I do. Yeah.
And you've got books.
Yes.
How many children's books do you have?
I self-published about 6 or 7 books. 3 of which are in rotation now. So I keep reprinting them, and this is one of them, Like a Prayer. Yeah, it's a children's book, but it's also, I think it's broad, hopefully broader than that too, in the sense that it's a very simple.
Hold it up.
Oh, yeah, Like a Prayer. And it's a little book of values, affirmations, little blessings or prayers, if you will, in a quite secular way to offer to someone.
So it can be a child's first spiritual book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is the age category for these?
I think it can be, it's hard to read a book with a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, but from when you start reading books with kids, showing pictures to whenever, because it's very broad.
Well, I started reading to my children when they were 1, when my oldest child was 1. I was reading to her by then. And then the second one came along. Poor thing, she was a newborn listening to stories. She didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So they started really early. And I love the colors that you use. And you do have, so they can get a selection. A person can buy a selection of these stories for the children or the grandchildren. This is really nice. Now, I am so intrigued by this because I read tarot cards, but these are not tarot cards. Tell us about these cards.
Yeah, so the card deck is a collaboration that I worked on with my good friend Nina, and she wrote the guidebook and I illustrated the cards. So it's an oracle deck, and we made up the subjects on the cards, and then she wrote a beautiful entry for each subject in the book. And it's very specific. It's inner child healing work, so it's specific to that topic. So all the subjects will relate to that, to the inner child, and also the art being kind of a opening into that world, because it speaks to our inner child, is what I often hear, and what she picked up on, and how we started collaborating.
Was this some therapy that she was doing?
Yeah, she coaches in this kind of work.
Okay, so this is her field.
Yeah.
And how does she use these cards in her career?
She uses them with clients as well, but like the project was her writing the book, I think, and using all her knowledge and expertise with that to create this. And then, yeah.
And how do you use the cards?
So you can you can shuffle them and ask a question, maybe of something. What does my inner child need today, or what is something?
Oh, that's a nice question.
Yeah, and she, in the book even, we also lay out a little bit of this, how to use this deck. So if you could pick, for example, you can pick one card, and then you could say that, like, what's something my inner child wants or needs to know, or what can I focus on? Or you could put a 3-card spread for yourself, and then ask a new question for each card. What do I need to heal? What resource is available in card number 2? And then card number 3, what am I ready to step into? And there's another way to work with the deck where there's 44 cards, and you can do it consecutively, because Nina created an arch in the subjects of the cards intentionally, so that you could say, I'm going on a 44-day quest, and I start with number 1, and then you work through, you sit with the subject of the first card, which is awe, and then...
Well, now, if you're going on a quest and you're going to use all 44 cards.
Mm-hmm.
Do you shuffle them, or do you just choose the first card?
Yeah. Then you would go consecutive, so you go from 1 through 44. Like each day of the 44 days, you just take that number of that day.
Okay.
And then you could do a whole sort of therapeutic self-help journey with that with this little book.
You know, I read the tarot, but I have never gotten involved in these cards because when I go to any store that has decks of oracle cards, there's just deck after deck after deck, and it's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so I just haven't gotten involved, and I didn't realize you do shuffle an oracle deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
And this is a large.
Yeah. It's very large. Yeah, you can shuffle them. You can. Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes, of course, a card falls out, and then we take that one out and say, okay, what's the message there? Yeah. You can pick one.
So how long did it take the two of you to come up with this deck, with this box and
It took
and
us
the cards?
Well, from start to finish, the project took maybe a year and a half or so.
Really?
But I will add that was not all the art of the deck had already been painted, so it took us that time to from the inception of the concept to actually having the deck in our hands, like to make the whole thing, to curate all the art that was going to be used, and then to figure out which subjects would have to be in the deck. And a lot of that is to the credit of Nina, because she's the writer and she was the one with the words. And then, like we had some wonderful help with the design as well, but we also did a lot of that ourselves. So it was a very involved project.
Well, now are these some of the oracle cards?
Actually, this is the only one that's in the deck. These are paintings. Oh no, this one is in the deck as well.
This is beautiful. And it features children.
It features children, not all of them. This one, for example, is I guess a portrait of someone, not necessarily a child. Same.
No, they quoted that.
What about the one over there that's on the tower and it has the bubbles and the children?
Yeah.
That is such a lovely picture.
So this is a little like an earlier piece of my work from when I lived in New York City, and I painted a lot of the scenery there, this is the Empire State. And then there's a lot of fantasyful light scenery happening. Yeah.
And you live in the Hudson Valley now?
Yeah. Yeah. Since 6 years.
Oh, you've been here for 6 years.
Yeah.
So you got here before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What brought you here?
The call to live in a more green setting in nature. Yeah.
A call to leave the city.
Yeah.
And how does that work with your spouse?
He felt the same way.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys just took off.
Yeah. Yeah, we just
And came up here.
Yeah.
How difficult was that to do?
Well, like logistics. But I think that once we made that decision and we did it, it was I never really looked back. I just like, this is where we need to be, where it feels right. And logistics, you have to get settled and do all the things, but we did that and it felt right. So, yeah.
Well, of course you came before the pandemic, so I would say you came here seeking things.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah.
Because during the pandemic and after the pandemic, the feeling I get is that a lot of people who have come here didn't come here for something. They came here
fleeing something.
Mm-hmm. And that brings a very different result.
Yeah, I agree.
And a very different attitude. And everything is so different. So if you're looking for something and you find it, that's very positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so both that you have your art, and so he is working up here as well.
Yeah, and he works also from home a lot. We're both creative people, so we were able to do it, which is wonderful. Yeah, we'd never lived. I'd never lived outside of a city, and so I really felt. Not really. Yeah. No.
Well, tell me, now that you're up here and you're in the Hudson Valley, how did you adapt to the wildlife?
Yeah, it's always a sort of journey, and I feel that I adapted. I live in Rosendale, which is a small town, and there is a very nice sort of web of connection around it still, I would say. So I don't know how wild our space is yet, like coming from obviously New York and then being in, like our backyard has bears in it. So it is wild, but it's wonderful. Like I think we adapt to it by embracing it, by not looking back, but by being in the moment and by embracing what's here.
Now, did you select Rosendale before you got here, or was Rosendale a place that you found?
No, we found it. We found it as we were looking. I have a daughter, so her school was the school I wanted her in was in the area of Rosendale, so that was part of it as well. So we moved as a family. Yeah. And
you found the school before you got here.
Yeah.
Go girl. Yeah. And are you happy with the school?
Yeah. Well, it's now changed, but she's in a Waldorf school, so I liked this style of education, which is also a little more based in the seasons and the natural world, and I'm sure you know about that, the Waldorf schools, but that was a big part of it as well, to have her in a school and a system that is a bit more aware, I guess, of the natural world and the pacing of the child and not the pacing so much of...
So when you moved up here, was she already in school?
No, she was 4 only, so she was in a...
So actually, I think you guys put a lot of thought to it. You moved her up here knowing that was the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you had waited much longer, you couldn't have gotten into Waldorf school.
Yeah. No, it was all very, the timing of it was brilliant. And I don't know how, you know things, or you do things intuitively, and I don't know how these things happen.
Well, would she have been in a Waldorf school in the city?
No, it's impossible. Like, it's very expensive.
Yeah. So you have a wonderful school.
Yeah.
And Rosendale is an adorable community.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a luscious library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, hey, life is all it's coming along.
Yeah, and then the Woodstock, and then finding the flea market. A few years in, I was like, oh, this is lovely, and you find more and more of a community as you're in a place. It takes time, I think, or I know, it takes time, and then relationships take time to build and to cultivate and to discover, and then, but it's a beautiful area. That's very rich with community and with creativity and with
And at the same time, you're close enough to Kingston to have, I would assume, healthcare if you're interested. I don't know if you're still doing the healthcare in the city or not.
No.
So you've moved. You really are here then.
Yeah.
If you do, if you're doing schools,
Yeah.
and you're doing healthcare here, you're here.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're happy.
Yeah.
That's great. No,
That's good.
I mean, people coming up here. A lot of them are a little confused and disappointed. You know, I don't know how. Moving to Rosendale. It's such a special place.
Maybe, yeah.
I would imagine that everybody that goes to Rosendale really likes it.
Yeah. It's quirky and it's lovely. Yeah.
I know that when my daughter was looking for a place, we tried to get a place in Rosendale, and of course by then it was crazy here.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the housing
yeah.
is
Yeah.
the housing is
Yeah.
insane now.
Well, that happened after, the pandemic. Yeah.
So you had the universe on your side.
Yeah.
Well, now you're at the flea market, selling at the Mowers Meadow Flea Market, and you sell books and cards, and then you have these prints.
Yeah.
And where else do you go when the flea market is closed?
So I go still in the times that the flea market is closed. I'll go to, there's 2 markets in the city that I enjoy a lot. There's the Grand Bazaar on the Upper West Side. They've been there for 40 years or something as well. And then there's the Brooklyn pop-up in Fort Greene in Brooklyn, and that's fun as well. There's a farmer's market around the park, and it's become also in the city, it was interesting as well after the pandemic, because I've been doing it for 15 years and selling in all these different spots. And then after the pandemic, I think a lot more people stepped into these spaces to sell, and also more people, I felt that there was a new appreciation of these market spaces from people having been in their little apartments and their screens and buying,
Well, now are these 2 markets in the city? Are they weekly? Are they monthly?
Yeah.
They are weekly.
Yeah.
So you go up every week.
No, not now, and because I'm here and I'm finding there's a lot of nice things around here to do, so I prefer that at the moment. But I like to go back and and I have a lot of great people there that also appreciate and know my work, so I like to dip in. Yeah.
So you're able to have a booth once in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the same way with Mowers Meadow. You're able to have a booth whenever it's convenient.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you ever are you in any other booths here in the winter and the spring?
In the winter, no. In the winter, things are a little quieter here.
Yes.
So but I'm also learning. For me, it feels like a nice time to be like moving up here is the first time that the first winter we moved. It was the first winter that I actually appreciated winter, really. And I never liked winter, and then moving out here, I felt like, wow, winter, it's a really different way of being with the seasons, like I think when you move into the countryside. And so I also find that now winter, I have to do certain things, work, but I also really like to try and set it up in a way that I can be in a lot and be creating, be painting, or I'm always painting. I'm not like, I know some artists that might be like, this is my time to paint and this is my time to do that. I'm always doing the things at once, sort of like, so it's not solely for that, but it's a nice time to hunker down, have lots of tea and bake things and then paint. Yeah.
So you do work on it, but what you're not telling me is that, I have a February show in Rhinebeck and a March show and
No.
So you really are not doing that.
No, I haven't. No. Maybe that will come,
but not at this point.
I haven't got a very tight plan usually.
And do you sell from your website?
Yeah, as well. Yeah. So I do also do that. Yeah.
Okay, what can you tell us what your website is for those who might be
Yeah,
interested?
it's edieart.com.
And that's EDIE
EDIEART.
.com. Yes. And that's where your are the cards for sale there?
The cards will be there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Prints, books.
And the children's books.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever read your books in libraries?
I've done a few things, yeah, like that, but it's also not something that I do on the regularly. But I've done a little readings in the Rosendale Library before, and one other place, but it's not a regular thing. It was a one-off event. Yeah.
I can remember years ago, not that many years ago, but my first book, Healer's Handbook, came out, and I booked a book review there, and all the chairs came up from the basement. Does she still do that?
Oh, well, it was a kids type of thing, and there was like a lot of sitting on the floor. I remember. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. But it was like all of these chairs came up from the basement, and I was feeling guilty. Oh no! I asked if I could talk about my book, and here are all these chairs coming upstairs. So I felt a little guilty about it. Well, now tell me how this oracle deck works.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it works well. Maybe there's a different layer to it than with the tarot, and in the terms of that it's so specific towards our inner child and the journey to be with that particular thing, connecting to the part of us that is quite pure and free. But in terms of how it works like most other oracles, any kind of oracle, like where I've always feel like I just have to put the trust and the faith in that there's some other kind of something that helps us take the next step, and that we have to trust that process, so that whatever card comes your way, when you pick one, when we take one, it's like sort of allowing that to be
So
a sign of
do you, oh my goodness, coming home. Can we discuss that card?
sure.
What about it?
What do you see?
I see an adorable picture of these little children in these, it looks like balloons, and they're floating down. It looks like they're floating down from heaven, and they're sitting in the balloons. They look adorable. I mean, does this how, I've never done an oracle deck. Is that how it works? You bring in one and you look at it.
Yeah.
Don't you want to hold it up?
Yeah, we look at it, and I think what is something that we can see in it, or that gets activated. I also I would see here the figure, the mother figure, or the woman figure. I don't know if it's a mother figure.
What is the number of that card?
It's number 13.
13. That's interesting.
And it
Okay.
definitely is where the book comes in to, I mean, we can, coming home, there's a cosmic element to it. There's stars, there's a moon or sun, there's the little bubbles, which could be planets. There's togetherness.
Returning to the universal mother is the most profound way to heal a sense of shame. We return to her through opening up to her ever-present love. The unconditional love of the divine feminine principle of Mother Earth and of the elements that make up our body welcomes us home without judgment. The divine mother is the feminine aspect of creation. She has many names: Mother Mary, Kali, Durga, and Shakti, to name a few. And this goddess principle has always been here for us. That's very interesting. I wrote a book that included some information about Mother Mary. It was about the birth of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And she's quite a lady. She is quite a lady. When we see everything as a manifestation of the Mother, we experience enlightenment and joy. As Ram Dass writes in the Be Love Now, in the compassionate embrace of the Mother, the layers of old habits, preconceptions, and residues of past experience can dissolve in the ocean of maternal affection. The blue sky is her mind, the green leaves pulse with her blood, the wind is her breath, the rain her water of life. She is Gaia, the Earth Mother, but also subtler than that. Our cosmic Mother reminds us of our inherent goodness and value. She invites us to release the shame we have been carrying for generations. And this card invites you to remember that her support is unfailing. To me, this card was a very interesting card because there's been a lot in the last 3 days of news about women and motherhood. And in the last few weeks, there's been even more about motherhood and pregnancy, and then up comes in the first card.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you read these cards to people, with people?
No, I don't really offer readings. But
You did the cards.
Yeah.
And you're very happy to sell the deck, but you do not. You do not. Are there people who do read these cards?
Oh yeah, yeah, and we've sold them to many people who have therapy offices, who say that they're very helpful in their work with people to open something up and to start somewhere, and to, like, if someone is maybe starting out on a journey and doesn't quite know yet what to say, or if they don't know where to start, like maybe pulling a card. I know of people have come back to us saying, like, oh, every session we open with the pulling of a card, and then that, like, always leads us into the session or the topics that need to be discussed somehow. So that's beautiful to hear that.
That is.
Yeah.
So it's really relevant.
Yeah.
It's a very relevant deck. How many years did you guys spend on this deck?
About one and a half, 2. Yeah. But that's, the art was made over the span of like this little painting that we pointed out before we chatted for a second. It's the blind spot card. This is an older painting of mine that I'm gonna guess I did, I don't know, 15 years ago, or whenever it was, 12, or something like that. And then there's pieces that like this that I did like 2 years ago, so or 3, like however.
So this is a
right
new
before.
card. So the ostrich is 15 years old.
Yeah, the image. Yeah,
and then
the shadow.
The shadow is 2 years old. So you've been working on this a long time.
Yes. So I've been working on this without knowing that I was working on the deck for 15 plus years. So that all these paintings and this is where I get my partner in the project, Nina, came in, and we went through all my work, and then seeing images that I've just never appreciate them, but they've just set in a file somewhere. And she was like, oh, we can pull this out. And then go over, first we had 100 of them. And then we're like, okay, we have to pare this down. And then we slowly pared them down it was a whole decision-making thing for like, are we doing 70 cards? Are we doing 50 cards? And then we settled on 44. And then, yeah.
Did she do the book first?
No, we curated the art first. And then from that, each card we assigned a theme to each card. She did most of that. So all of the images, acceptance is a card that I like very much. And the persona is a card that I also like very much. And all these things it was a very give and take, back and forth, circular kind of process with the art responding to the thoughts about what it could be and then feeding into itself.
Now, this card I find very intriguing, the quest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am learning in the last 10 years that I've been working with healing with Reiki and reflexology and other things for years, but I'm learning in the last few years how important a quest is.
Mm. Yeah.
In the beginning, I did not realize it. And now, recently, I am becoming more aware of the fact that people do go on quests that they don't even know they're on.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
If they sat and thought about it for a little bit, they might get cold feet. Mm. But at the same time, for whatever reason, somewhere inside of them, they need to go on this quest.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is, especially now, you know?
Mm.
I think now, especially, I don't know if you're interested in any of the political situation in our country now, but I think that there are people in our country who are on a quest now. And so I think that this card is extremely relevant. Mm-hmm. Not that they are not relevant,
mm-hmm.
but this one, you know, everybody is. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while, I will find myself caught in a situation with a young person, and I'll realize you're on a quest. And of course, when I first started with a quest, I was learning canine animal communication. And I met a woman from Canada who was in the same class, and she was on a vision quest. And she knew she was on a vision quest. Everybody else knew she was on a vision quest. Mm-hmm. But not everybody is that aware. So that's an amazing thing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, fear. Wow.
Yeah, fear.
Fear is very interesting.
Yeah.
How many people do you encounter in your life who are afraid?
Well, everyone I feel
right.
deals with fear. I encounter my own fears, and I think this is what the part of the work is in this deck is to look at our own, like where is my fear living? Where is it acting up? Where is it guiding me this way where I kind of should go that way, or
mm-hmm.
Making all those observations and then decisions from that. That's kind of the quest in a way, is to navigate where our decisions are not fear-based and instead based around love, around trust, around
You know, one of the things that I have begun to realize in the last 20 years, I only learned this once I moved up here, is that fear is very big in our lives, but it gets this much attention.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
And a lot of this teeny bit of attention is the parent saying, "Oh, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid." But there's a reason for being afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And fear is something that we must learn to be friends with.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do that in this culture.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, we don't talk about it. We don't think about it. So this is you two ladies who designed this deck, you didn't leave very much out, did you?
We tried to be.
And trust.
Complete.
Trust. Oh, trust.
Yeah, trust is a the image speaks, I think. It's about when you step into something. So if we already know what's going to happen, then you don't maybe need trust. But you don't know what's going to happen. And in order to make that step into the unknown, you have to have this trust. And that means like there's risk, there's fear, there's danger, but you do still have to make that step onto this little, what do you call that? Cord.
Yeah.
You know, like an acrobat. And you have to find the balance. And
well, and then here we have, this one says play.
Play.
How many children really play?
Well, I think they do, but I think it's now, the screens and things are taking a large part of the play from us.
I agree.
But naturally, as children, we play, and I think that the inner child, finding and reconnecting with the inner child, is a lot about play.
And I think one of the things about play is that children, I don't know. This is just an observation that I've made, and I could be very, very wrong. I never see a child alone. Not for 1 minute. How can you dip into your fantasy if you're never alone?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then what happens to you when you grow up, if you have never been alone, how do you learn to live with yourself?
Yeah.
So this is an extremely important
Yeah.
card.
Yeah.
Wow.
And in that way also, I think things like boredom, things like you say, being alone or being bored, those are things that I feel need to be allowed and normalized. They are normal. Instead of that we say, well, oh, here's this and that, and overstimulation and continual entertainment.
Yes.
And busyness, like the creative spirit needs
Absolutely.
quiet, needs boredom in a way to start to be able to follow that spark
Right.
and like hear it. And
Yeah. And you got to get away from the screen.
that's what more and more I believe is the answer to a lot. I mean, not that before screens there weren't issues and troubles, there were, but in this space where we are now, even in my own, just again looking at myself, if I put my screens away, I know I am right away 50% healthier, happier. It's simple.
That's true.
It's really.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing collection of cards. And Father, look at this. This is tremendous. This card. Oh my goodness.
Community.
Community. Oh. Now, this kind of came along. Did this deck reveal itself? Or did you ladies go seek it out?
Both. I think that's, for me, the maybe at the base of most things is like, when do we allow for something to come on, and when do we try and steer it and control it a little bit, and manipulate it a little bit, and it's a continuous adjustment between those two things. So it's like there's a flow and there's something that wants to come through, but then we also have to say, oh well, wait, what if we make this turn? And so we I think it was a real combination of these two energies.
Well, okay, so you sell the deck. Oh my goodness, the journey. Oh my goodness, what is look at the symbolism for this. Can we talk about the symbolism in this card?
Yeah, just this mandala.
Where did it come from?
Well, this came from a quite specific. I like the Jung, the psychotherapist, and he the Red Book, or was it in the Red Book? Somebody showed it to me, and I saw his paintings of mandalas, and he made these paintings of them, and I was completely inspired. So, and then I went home, and then whenever the week after, I started painting some mandalas, and this is where the painting partly came from. That's the sort of the more, direct explanation, but then the actual painting came through, and it was quite an inspired piece. And this is a very small detail on the card, but there's a hand
oh my goodness,
with a figure, and there's a key in the shadow.
Oh my
So originally this painting was called The Key is in the Shadow.
Oh my gosh, and I was so taken by this.
The color,
that I missed it totally.
Well, it's very small, and that's the thing I hope with these cards, that people, once if you sit with it for a little while, and then over time, that I hope it can also stay with people for a nice long time.
This is like tarot. This is like if you get a Bible and you begin to study it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you spend time with.
Yeah.
This has enough depth to which you can really you can go within yourself.
Yeah.
What I want to know now is what motivates a person to buy this deck?
Well, I see people obviously come to my booth and see what moves them, or what makes them buy it. And I think I don't know if there's one answer, but I feel that it touches something. It softens something in them, maybe. And it might be just because the first thing is the sort of colors, and it's quite soft and gentle. So I think that when they start looking at it, they smile, and they let a little bit of guard down. And then when we talk about it and about what it does and what you can study with it in yourself, and even I was going to say the book has it offers a lot of exercises, like journal prompts, meditations. Like almost every card comes with something you can also do in order to do that kind of healing work with yourself. So I think that then once we start talking about the deck, a lot of people say, oh, I need to nourish these parts of myself.
Well, and then here is one called Ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how many people, because of situations that they've been involved in, are just blocking a lot of that.
Oh yeah, most of us, I think.
I remember vaguely, there was a time in which a respected woman, was always nominated to be the ambassador to the United Nations. So Madeleine Albright did. And at that point, she revealed, and of course I could be wrong now because it's been many, many years, that she realized that she didn't know anything about her family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are so many people.
Yeah.
And so learning
Yeah.
about your ancestors is huge.
Yeah, and that's again a very, actually, I'm glad you picked this card out because it's a big part of also what Nina's work is: ancestral healing, is family constellation, is looking at all these other, where do we come from, and to integrate that into, and it's very much to do with our inner child because we're brought up by our families and they come from their families or our families, like.
Well, and then people begin on these journeys too, because, for example, if you get your DNA done, all of a sudden you find out this doesn't jive with what I think, what I knew. And so you have to deal with facts, and then you have to deal with the story, and you have to deal with where you think you've been, where you think you're going. And then I studied for a long time. I studied some healing where people would come and would go back into the past. Mm-hmm. And many of them felt like they were not from this earth. They felt like that their ancestry was not on this path, on this planet. That's a profound thing.
Yeah.
So these cards, you could have this deck of cards and you could just tootle around with these cards for years.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is lovely. So, is this the kind of thing that a person would pull a card each day?
For me, it's not, but for someone else it might be. And I just met someone. I was in a market in a nice opening festival yesterday at a friend's space in Gardner, and there was a lovely young woman, and she came and shared with me that she has the deck, and she pulls one card every month.
Oh, every month.
And she says that's the card for that month, and then she is with that theme and with the teachings in the book and with the exercises. I mean, maybe not every day of the month, but for the duration of the month. And I was like, what a lovely
Now that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because that way you're going to deal with this for several years. You're going to grow with this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're not going to, once a day is too much. And I think once a week is too much, truly. I mean, if you're really going to grasp what these are.
Yeah, exactly. I think it deserves time and attention. And because that's time and attention, time spent with something is also how we cultivate relationships. So if you relation to your own self and your inner child, you have to spend time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting thing that you can do. Well, this is. I thought we were going to spend time on these, and we spent time on the cards. Can we talk about these? You have these. What are these? 4x6s?
5x7.
5x7s.
Yeah.
But now you have these in larger pictures.
I do also make larger prints. These are prints, and then these are mounted prints. So there, I cut a piece of pine wood, and then I put the print on there, and then you can just hang them as is. And then I also offer prints that are just like paper prints that you could frame, and then original paintings, of course.
Now, a lot of these are in here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Not all, but so there's 44 paintings that were used for the deck.
Okay.
And then I have.
So then, if a person really gets interested in a specific card,
Mm-hmm.
then you can get a 4x6. What else can you get? Can you get a 9x12?
11 by 14.
11 by 14. That's big enough to where you can really spend some time
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that one framed in some way?
It's on paper, so it's a fine art print on the paper, but you can frame
Right,
it.
you
and
can
buy a
frame it.
frame for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we're down. Boy, this show has just gone. Okay, we've got 5 minutes.
Okay.
So first of all, I want to thank you so much, Ellen. I really do. This was really lovely, and Ellen really sat down there and gave it some time and energy. And I promised Ellen that she wasn't going to do that. I promised Ellen that she was going to come here and turn on this camera and walk away, and it didn't
And
happen.
have the night off.
But can you tell everybody again, where can we find you? Where can we find you on the website? What is the price range of the pictures? Just give us some more information about
Some
you.
of the logistics there. Edie Art, EDIEART.com is my site. And you can find me at the Woodstock Market every weekend when the weather allows. And yeah, that's basically where I am, the online.
How much are the little books?
The little books are 15.
They are adorable. And you know, for a little child, this is the one thing when my children had books. They had beautiful books, but this is something that a child can hold
Yeah.
and can talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is a good size.
a good size. And
This is really nice.
I had a hardcover before, and then I ran out, and then now it's just. But I'll also, that will come back again.
No, this is, but the hardcover ones are not that easy for the little ones.
Sometimes, yeah. This is,
You know.
and you could just pop it in your bag, take it somewhere too.
Right.
It's easy. Yeah.
It's much better. And you do have these available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the flea, if we're not rained out, we're going to be open on Saturdays
Yep.
through hopefully the end of October. And it's EDIART what is the website?
EDIART.com.
EDIART.com. Okay. And these would make wonderful gifts. These are going to make gifts for grandchildren. These are going to make gifts for friends. These are going to make gifts for self.
Yeah.
This is good. And thank you again, Ellen. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
has been great.